Hello everybody, it's Julia here with another video for you. Today we're going to be doing a video about the Justice card. This is video I think number 12 in my Learn Tarot series, and we are looking at the Justice card, which is card number 11 in the deck. And these videos are a little bit of a deep dive. This is not a very superficial look at the card. I shall tell you what the Justice card means to me. Then we'll have a little look at some of my Justice cards from some of my tarot decks, and then I shall give you some questions that, if you are interested in tapping into the energy of the Justice card for meditation or self-reflection, or to help bring some clarity into an area in your life, then I hope that these questions will be helpful. So, without further ado, this is the Justice card, and this is a very traditional representation of the Justice card. Maybe not the colours quite so much, because this is the Radiant deck, so the colours are quite bright in this deck. But otherwise the imagery is very traditional. So the Justice card is ruled by Libra. It's its ruling sign. So Justice is about cold, objective balance through reason or natural force. This is a card that can tell the querent that they can't keep smoking or drinking without consequences to their health. It tells the querent to do whatever is necessary to bring things back into balance. In a more mundane sense, this card could signal a court case, legal undertaking, something that might not turn out exactly as the querent wishes, but will always be fair and just. This is not always the nicest of cards, the Justice card, but it's always wise and fair and just. So it is a good card to begin the next 10 cards, because we move out of the physical world of the first 10 cards, and Justice kind of ushers us into the next 10, those of the more metaphysical world. So it can indicate our hopes and fears balanced against our morals. In its higher realms, this represents truthfulness, fair judgment, the lifting of the veils of illusion and deception, and it can represent legal or financial balancing of one kind or another. In its lower realms, this can be a card of overanalyzing, doubting oneself, confusion, false accusations, bigotry, intolerance, unfairness, and a general sort of lack of insight, I guess. So the previous video we talked about the Wheel of Fortune, and I think the Wheel of Fortune kind of represents a vision of your life, of who you are and what you've made of yourself and where you're going. But Justice represents your understanding of that vision and the responsibility particularly that is inherent within it, because the Justice card is most definitely a card of personal responsibility. So life doesn't just happen. This is a card of needing to ask questions, needing to seek answers, and having a growth mindset. So in this particular card, as I said, this is very traditional. The person here is sat between the pillars of truth. This is a card of swift action. He's ready there with his sword. I would imagine as the sword comes down, it strikes swiftly and fairly, as this person here has weighed and balanced your karma, I guess, in his scales. Often we see a female in this card, but I don't know why. This person here looks male to me. What else is there about here? I think this just really, to me, this card just really just says justice is about to be served. You know, as I said, he sat there weighing and measuring, and he's ready with his sword. So the colours in this card, the gold and the purple and the red, it all seems quite royal, quite important to me. So yeah, justice is about to be served. In the tarot of the oppositions here, we have to me, the two different aspects of this card really are in the light attributes here. This is a person who's wise and open. The woman sat here on the throne here is weighing and measuring, but she's very open. She sat openly. She's looking up and outwards at what's going on around her. She's interested and engaged, and I would imagine has asked questions and has sought answers. In the dark attributes, in the shadow here, we see a person who I feel just doesn't care, really. It's like she's given up, isn't it? Like she feels that it's worthless, it's pointless. What's the point in seeking justice or balance, because things are not fair, is the feeling that I get from that. Whereas the feeling from the light attributes of this justice card is that you can always change a result. You know, you need to take personal responsibility. Things can always be changed. Things can always be saved. It's about being fair and wise and asking the right questions, I think. I picked out these two cards quite specifically because I think these show a brilliant side of the Justice card here. This is from my Book of Shadows Volume 2 deck, and here we see a woman squeezing her sore feet when she's just taken off her high-heeled shoes at the end of the day. And to me, this is this just purely and simply represents cause and effect, doesn't it? This is about thinking about the action. This is about responsibility, isn't it? Personal responsibility for the actions that you take in life. You know, if you choose to walk around in high-heeled shoes all day, you're likely to have sore feet at the end of the day. As many of us women know, and well, I remember, I haven't walked around in high-heeled shoes for many years, but I remember. And so perhaps a question to ask with this card is it worth it? You know, is the price worth it? That's where the responsibility lies in this card, isn't it? This personal responsibility. Is it worth being in pain and having blisters and sore feet to be a bit taller and feel a bit more attractive? For some of us, that may well be the case, and for others, no. And on some situations, yes, and some situations, no. So it's about questions, isn't it? Again, questions. In the Mystical Cats tarot, which I absolutely love, this again is a very interesting interpretation of this card, isn't it? Again, I think this is about cause and effect, isn't it? This is about looking at your behaviour and then looking at the consequences of your behaviour. Are you paying attention? I think awareness is everything, isn't it? This cat was so busy playing with the string that he didn't realise he would get completely tangled up in that string. Yeah, That's what's going on there, isn't it? Is the cat was so busy playing with the string that he wasn't aware of what he was doing, really, and the consequence of that is he's become entangled within the string, and that's his consequence, isn't it, for his behaviour? So there we go. That is I've just even noticed that, and that is the key word on this card. This card is not called justice. This card is called consequences. And then my last two cards here, I think I'm going to read from the book for them. We've got the Justice card from the Zombie Tarot here, and I noticed earlier that this is number 8 in the Zombie Tarot deck, which I've not come across in any of my other decks, I don't think. So I'm not quite sure why that is. So with this card, we've got the key words here are impartiality, fairness and equality. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth takes on an entirely new meaning in the midst of a human zombie war. Thankfully, you can count on justice to right the wrongs, restore harmony, and offer a karmic slap to the back of the head to those who deserve it. Fight the good fight, but don't be on the other end of that slap. So again, it's the same message, isn't it? It's about personal responsibility, accountability, about understanding your impact, about understanding the laws of cause and effect, and dealing with the consequences of your behaviour. The last card that I'm going to have a look at here is from my Book of Shadows Volume 1, which is a very pagan influence deck, and it's still a deck that I'm getting to grips with, to be honest. Although I have a fair knowledge of pagan issues and influences, it's not something that I know a great deal about. So I do know, though, that this is a card of Mabon. I think that's how you pronounce it, Mabon, and this is the autumn equinox festival in the pagan calendar, and I know that without even looking at the book, because the autumn equinox is September the 21st and I was born on September the 22nd, so I'm on the cusp with Libra, the cusp of Virgo and Libra, so I know this card really. But just to give it some flesh properly, I shall read from the book, if I can find it. Where are we? A lot of the cards in this book are not in the order that you would expect them to be. I don't really know why. Here we are, Justice. So, the Justice card. So yes, the autumn equinox, or Mabon, around September the 21st. As the days begin to shorten, the sun god and the mother goddess return to the underworld. Pagans celebrate the bounty of the year, as well as prepare for the winter. Without modern food preservation techniques or grocery stores, storing enough food for the winter had a very different urgency, one that we probably cannot imagine. Survival was at the front of everyone's mind, and everyone had to work together. At this time of year, prisoners were released and disagreements were set aside. At Mabon, we focus on forgiveness and letting go of unhealthy thoughts and feelings that have settled in our hearts and that can fester and turn poisonous. In this card, Demeter stays on the land for a little longer while her daughter Persephone begins her journey to the underworld. So that's obviously what we're seeing here, isn't it? There is a sense of gratitude for what has been given and a sense of responsibility for what will be required. This is a time to prepare our lives, both mundane and spiritual, for the cold, dark days to come. So in its divinatory meaning, this is a time of accounting, weighing out the consequences of your actions, making decisions now that will shape your future. So again, even though this is a very pagan outlook on this card, this is still about the laws of cause and effect. This is still about making good decisions and taking responsibility for your behaviour. As the book said, if people in this time didn't prepare well and weren't organised and weren't on it, they would have starved, wouldn't they, through the winter. So that would have been their consequence for their actions or their lack of actions. So there we go. That's the cards. So if we were going to reflect upon this energy and we wanted to use this archetype as something to ask questions of ourselves, which I think with the Justice card is quite important actually. Some of the questions that we could ask would be things like, what are the pros and cons of decisions that you're weighing? What consequences are you facing as a result of a previous action? And what can you learn from this? What is needed to balance any particular situation? What is unbalancing you? And where can you see the laws of cause and effect playing out around you? And this might not be just within your own life, this could be in the general world around you. Remembering that for every action, there is an equal reaction. So what are the pros and cons of decisions that you are weighing at this time? What consequences are you facing as a result of a previous action? And what can you learn from that? What is needed to balance any particular situation? What is unbalancing you? And where can you see the laws of cause and effect playing out around you in life, remembering that every action has an equal reaction? So there you go. That's the Justice card. I do hope you enjoyed that. I think the Justice card is a brilliant and interesting card actually. As I said, I'm on the cusp with Libra, and I think Libra does resonate quite strongly for me. I very much feel that fairness and equality and balance are things to strive for in life, and I've been very, very much aware of the consequences of my actions in life at times, and I've made a big effort to learn from those things. As I said earlier, it's not always the nicest of cards, the Justice card. It can be something difficult to swallow sometimes, but the Justice card is always wise and fair and just, and that's something that we as people and a society should strive for, I guess, isn't it? So there we go. I hope you did enjoy that, and I look forward to seeing you next time with the next instalment of my Learn Tarot series. So thank you.